From the Dallas On Air studios in beautiful Dallas, Texas, this is Next Issue on DallasOnAir.com. And now, here's your hosts, Clay Harrison and Kyle Condas.
Hey now.
Hello.
Welcome to the Next Issue Podcast. We are a bi-weekly comic book podcast out of Dallas. I say comic book in quotes because we will drift around a lot.
Oh, God, yes.
We are part of the Dallas On Air Live family.
Well, of course, it's 9:31 and we're already off the rails.
And we are also co-hosts on Just a Sec. So if you are listening to that and want more comic knowledge, stay tuned. This is my co-host, Kyle.
What's up, guys? My name's Kyle Condas. I am your other comic nerd extravaganza nerd know-it-all here in Dallas, Texas. Hope you guys are going to enjoy this. I don't know, Clay, what else you got for the intro?
Well, we have a guest host with us from the Just a Sec podcast. This is The Authority, Adrian. How are you doing? One more time?
I said I'm just here for the coffee and donuts.
Oh, okay. So, since this is our first show, we kind of wanted to touch base on kind of like our background, what we're reading, what we've read, what we like, and then that way we can kind of get into Adrian's history and what his comic knowledge.
He was already giving us a little bit of history a second ago.
TMI history. TMI history.
I wouldn't call it history. It's more of a fact.
I want to see.
So with any guests that we have on the show, we're gonna have a list of questions to kind of get their background, so you know their knowledge when they're recommending reads and favorite artists, writer teams, and anything else that they promote. So, Adrian, how you doing?
I'm all right. How you doing?
I'm very tired. This is really early for me.
This is very early.
I just have coffee in me. That's it.
That is all I have as well.
So what are you reading right now? What's in your pull list?
Right now, I just got finished reading the Teen Titans, the game.
Yep.
And pretty much I've been a little bit too busy with summer, but I haven't been reading too much. I usually read mainly Marvel stuff. I'm trying to...
Kyle, hold it up for me one more time,
Yes,
please.
one more time.
I'm trying to be honest with you, I stopped reading comics for a long time.
Yeah.
And then read them all as a kid and through most of my 20s. And then when the whole speculation era started, and
Yeah.
I kind of bailed out on it. But now I'm more getting in. So I'm going back and reading more backstories and older trades and stuff like that. Recently read All-Star Superman, Blackest Night. I'm trying to brush up more on my DC knowledge because I really didn't read DC when I was growing up.
Okay,
I was more of a Marvel fan.
So, for someone who comes back into comics, do you go and read all the event books?
Basically, that's what I've been trying to do, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Getting all the event books on trade paperback and, just getting them in a collection. You've been loaning me some stuff and just trying to catch up.
Yeah,
And,
I'm just always curious how much event books affect readership because I'm not a big fan of them. And currently we have Secret Empire from Marvel happening, and I just try to avoid those. They usually result in a few things. They usually will kill off a character, which means they're gone for a year.
I think it depends on how they do the event books. Because, like Blackest Night, the Blackest Night book, you don't have to read all the simultaneous issues that tie it into it. You can read the Blackest Night and get the full story.
The 8 issues.
Whereas if you read certain other books, it's like, well, no, you're only going to get little bits and parts. You have to read all the, all the Spider-Man or all the Superman, all these things that tie in to get the full story. And that's what I'm saying. Blackest Night is contained. They have the spin-off sides to like Green Lantern and Flash.
It's kind of like I read Flashpoint, and one of the biggest stories in Flashpoint was actually in the side issue where the Joker is Martha Wayne. And that's not in the main.
Yeah.
That's not in the main 8-10 issues.
No.
Of Flashpoint.
But they do put that in the movie.
They
did put it in.
They give it at the moment, and you go, "Wait a minute, I kind of want to see that movie."
I know.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, if you go back to DC, I read. I didn't read most of Final Crisis. I basically only 2 books I read were it was 2 spinoffs. One was Superman: The Legion of Superheroes, Legion of the Three Worlds. And then went to Flash. It was basically the Rogue story. It was just 4 issues of the Rogues basically having to try to stop inertia because they forced them to kill Bart.
Yeah.
And so I was like, these are the two stories. I haven't read anything else out from that.
And Final Crisis is a book I've owned and never read. I pick it up and I go, I don't know if I just want to dig this deep.
Right. When you bring the fact that like Darkseid, okay, slight spoilers, and even not that you might know who the character is, but like when you find out that Dan Turpin it basically has Darkseid in his body, he becomes a new Darkseid and all this stuff, and Apocalypse on Earth, it just got too convoluted for me.
Yeah. And DC has so much history; it's very intimidating
and I love
dig to dig into that well.
Technically, right now, I think DC is at a better spot than Marvel.
Yeah,
comic book wise,
they are outselling them. They are doing a better job. Marvel has a ton of movies, but that doesn't mean that people are running out and buying the comics. And if they were, I mean, if you were a big Captain America fan, you went to go buy Captain America, you'd be kind of like, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Well, I've been reading the whole new Hydra story with Cap as, the leader of Hydra. I'm just kind of like, they're taking too. That's my big quarrel with Marvel on occasion. They take too long to finish off a story. Like something that should have been done in 5 months, they wait 10 months because they have to wait 2 months to release the next issue.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was the problem with Secret Wars. That drug out a lot longer. They are responsible for event books in my mind.
They are. Right.
And so that's been their bread and butter for a long time. So they'll go out, do an event book, and then have it delayed, miss stuff. Then you'll have like critical issues come out before an issue that was a big reveal. And so it just kind of bogs it down. Now, what do you guys say when Marvel says this is their last event?
Don't believe them.
How many years before you see another event?
Years. How many months?
Okay.
Yeah.
No. It's like, I mean, I hate to say it, but in this day and age, whether it's DC or Marvel, it's like, oh, this person's dead. How long till they come back? I mean, okay. Granted, they kept Wolverine dead, but now we have Old Man Logan, so it's like he's back. I mean, in some form or fashion. So when you can't keep Aunt May dead, you've kind of lost your power to do anything right.
I would say Uncle Ben.
Okay. He's the only. Oh no. Well, and technically, Captain Marvel. I mean, they brought him back, but it was never the original. It's always been.
Right.
So.
Well, isn't this the studio that made Aunt May hot? I'm sorry, just.
Well, I'm not complaining about that.
Yeah,
it's Marissa Tomei. I'm not going to say anything about that.
Hey now. Okay, so Adrian, go ahead and what is your favorite artist writer team in comics? And while you're thinking about that, do you have a dream team? Is there an artist and a writer you'd put together on a book that you would just pre-order with only those credits? You too, Kyle.
I may have to think about.
I don't know about a team. I know certain writers. I'll read. Alan Moore. I'll read anything of his. That's more old school. Recently, the stuff that Aaron's is doing on Thor.
Okay, yeah,
The
Jason
Thor
Aaron.
book,
yeah. Thor the Unworthy.
Yeah, like that run. I recently read Ed Brubecker's run on Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah,
that was a good run.
Is that all Steve Epting art?
I'm
trying to.
I really
or is
didn't pay
that
attention.
that was him on Cap?
As far as artists go, I like Jim Lee. There's a lot of new guys coming out that.
But he's the artist, though.
Well, yeah. But there's a lot of new guys out that I really haven't sunk my teeth into. Like, I gotta, check this guy out every time he publishes. But I'm more into the writing. The art's usually solid. We've gotten to a point where because the world is so global now, there's tons of artists out there.
Yeah.
So there's tons of really good artwork. So I'm more into the writing and the story right now. So Aaron, his run on, I dig what he's doing on Thor, on all the books he's doing on Thor.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get that into a collected edition, actually. And then I might throw this out. I think Jeff Johns might be a little overrated.
Whoa. Hey now.
He still had one of the best runs on Flash.
He has some really great runs. You know what? I take that back. I don't think he's overrated. I think at this point right now, in this moment in time, he stretched himself too thin.
Okay.
I mean, think about it.
I could see that.
He's right. How many books is he writing? He's also like the.
Well, no, he's overseeing all of DCTV.
Head of creative. Yeah. He's overseeing DCTV.
Who is this now?
Jeff Johns.
Jeff Johns. they tried to move him into a Kevin Feige role with DCEU.
But Feige's not writing half the books for Marvel.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So, like I said, I think, like, I'm almost to the point where anytime I hear his name, I'm kind of like, what are we really going to get? You know, because as creative as certain people are, like Stephen King, you know, we look at his work, but I mean, that's stretched out over 30, 40 years, right?
Yeah.
So there's only so much creativity you can come up with at one point in one particular moment.
And he's in a weird role being
Yeah.
an executive at DC
Yeah.
and a creative.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
he kind of has to hold himself to those time frames that he has work to.
Exactly. So I mean, I think he's a little stretched.
Well, Lee's done the same thing. I mean, I don't think he's ever been as big as like with the other media, but I think he's been an executive and still been a creative at one point also.
Yeah, but I guess when I look at a guy who's drawing a book,
Yeah.
he's got one book. That's it. Jim, he may take on a couple of covers,
Yeah.
a couple of variant covers, but then he's got all his executive duties. So if he's doing one book, that's one thing. But like, how many is Jeff Johns doing? Plus overseeing movies.
Well, he's not only doing the books, but he's also, I think he's head of creative as far as overall DC Comics, like all the storylines.
Yeah.
Especially all the big ones like Rebirth and
Yeah.
and he was in charge of New 52, and so and then now he takes on the role of, you know, the DC TV shows, which he already had the role of, well, he had a role at the movies, at Warner Brother Movies, but now
Yeah.
he's elevated to another new role at Warner. I mean, there's only so much time in a day.
So
Because DC's TV is much better.
Right.
okay, so what do you think he's best at? What do you pull him off of to put him to make DC a better company?
Maybe take
We don't know yet because we really haven't. All the news coming out of Warner Brother Movies, like all the changes, we don't know how much he's involved in all that. We still don't have a finished product to see. Is he even good at it?
I guess maybe we'll wait till see what Justice League comes and brings to the table, because really he started over. I mean, not sure. They gave him control, and that's when Justice League was kind of starting. So let's see what that does. Because I mean, everyone's kind of, is it going to be a schlock like Batman v Superman, or is it going to be possibly the first?
And I don't even think that's a fair. That's a fair gauge considering all the stuff with the directors and writers and stuff that went on behind the scenes.
I mean, you've got a director that leaves pretty much during post. You got Joss picking it up, and then he's had some high drama of late.
Right.
And
Well,
then
and I mean, the whole thing starts out is we're setting this tone in DCEU. All right, we're going to set this tone, and then Batman versus Superman happens. Everything changes. As a matter of fact, when Batman versus Superman happens, I think the next week, Justice League started. Justice League started filming. They went into production. So I mean, they had to change like on the fly, and then all the stuff that happened with
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman and
Wonder
so-
Woman has shifted to
Yeah.
create a more positive DC universe, which I
Yeah.
don't think is a problem. I
No,
just think
that's what they should have started with. I mean, going too dark for the universe was, I think, the wrong direction. Period. when it first
but I
started.
think that was a Zack Snyder thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big Zack Snyder fan, so
Yeah.
I mean, I've never. I mean,
What, you don't like Sucker Punch?
I love Sucker Punch. I'll defend
like-
Sucker
I
Punch.
Sucker Punch had good visuals. Outside of that, the
Yeah.
story blew.
No.
Sorry, I'm not a big fan of the movie. Visuals I loved, but other than that, I don't own the movie. Don't need to own the movie.
I love that movie. I call it Brazil for women. If you love the happy ending of Brazil, you will love Sucker Punch. So check that out. That's my review. You feel free to put it on the DVD. Let's see here. Kyle, you got any questions? Let's pick at Adrian's brain.
What
see.
was the original, like, do you remember the very first comic that ever really kind of drew you into reading comics? I mean, like, what was that first issue? Do you remember the story, issue, art? I mean, what was it, that one comic that kind of got you into reading comics overall?
I would say an old Fantastic Four run, like one of the originals. I
a Lee and Kirby issue?
yeah,
wow.
way back.
Okay.
You know, very sci-fi, very monsters, and well, when the Fantastic Four first started out, it was more of a sci-fi.
No, you were
horror
you were right
comic
on the
book.
dot of what the comic book used to be. It was all about the sci-fi.
And what I wish they would have made the movies like. They keep going back to this family-oriented thing,
Well, no, I have no problem
which isn't bad, but The orange is what I was hoping for. This latest Fantastic Four was they were talking about how it was going back to a more of a horror vibe and sci-fi vibe, and we didn't get that. And but what really
it's really bad when all the other films almost make the Roger Corman film look good.
Yes, it's still one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I still love it. And if you watched it, it's on Netflix or no, it's on Amazon Prime. Doomed.
Thank you. I was just going to say that.
Right.
Yeah,
Doomed is
it's
awesome.
It is about the the making of the Fantastic Four film with the people who made it, and it is a pretty great documentary. I really recommend it.
Which one, the Roger Corman Fantastic Four? Or
No, it's a documentary about the
Doomed.
making of the Roger Corman film.
Okay.
Yeah. It's called Doomed. You can check it out on Amazon Prime.
Actually, it's not it's Amazon Prime. It's also on Hulu.
Oh, it is.
That's where I've
okay.
been watching it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right, so Adrian, going back, was there a particular villain or arc that really caught your eye?
I just like the setup of the original Doctor Doom. I mean, Doctor Doom was cool.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't have all this electricity and bullshit, but that he does now. But I mean, he was just he had simple motivations.
Yeah.
And thinking back on it now, he's one of the we talk about in storytelling how what makes a good villain is a villain that doesn't realize he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
And I think Doctor Doom was one of those original guys.
Well,
He
for
thought
example-
he was doing good.
Well, Magneto. I think that's what made
Magneto.
Well,
Yeah.
that leads into the second book that really drew me in was X-Men. I remember just being obsessed with X-Men. But then again,
I think we all were.
looking
Yeah.
back, they shoved it down our throats. And the funny thing about it is how the original X-Men team or the original X-Men book almost got canceled before I even got into comic books.
Oh no, yeah,
Yeah.
it almost
It died.
Yeah,
And then they brought it back, and then
and then you had Claremont and no, it was
Claremont and Byrne.
no before Byrne it was Claremont.
Dave Cockrum.
That's right, Dave Cockrum that really kind of saved it first, and then Byrne came on. It really kind of started.
Yeah,
Yeah,
elevated
kind
it.
of defined what X-Men was, and I'm kind of disappointed where X-Men is at now.
Right,
But
yeah.
we can get into that in a little bit.
Right.
What about you, Kyle? We should all be answering these as the listener knows nothing of what we like.
I'm kind of all over the place. I mean, growing up, I've been both a Marvel and DC fan. Sometimes reading both at the same time, sometimes leaning more one than the other. I've had phases where I've done nothing but independent stuff, where I got burnt out on some of the other stuff. It's not just comic books. I've been collecting since I was probably 10. I'm also a huge toy collector, cartoon nut. I've worked for two of the different comic chains here in Dallas, so it's like I have access to that stuff. I worked in an anime store. I'm an anime fan, so the whole geek culture is just something I almost probably live more religiously than I should. But no, I mean, if you're talking about stuff that I'm reading currently, I would say trade paperback stuff that I've been reading is I've always been a Green Lantern fan, and we can get into which one has always been my favorite later. But I've been reading a lot of the more recent stuff like Blackest Night, and then a lot of how they like all the new Lantern Corps started up, the Red Lanterns, the Orange Lanterns, and all that stuff. Some of the new stuff, the new Guardians, which dealt with the formation of the new White Lantern. Also read Teen Titans Earth One, which is sort of a DC's kind of take if you had the superheroes kind of appear in real life. There was Batman and Superman Earth One, now Teen Titans Earth One.
Yeah, their Earth One books are great jumping on points.
Yeah.
If you really want to read like a current updated origin story,
Yeah.
they're really worth reading.
And currently and Marvel, the only one that's real. I mean, there's been a couple of X books that have been kind of jumping out at me. I've been keeping up with. Some of the other books for me have got stagnant because the whole Hydra story, nothing seems to be advancing. But one we're going to get into is Defenders. It's been my go-to, and then DC, the Flash books, the Titan books, and then Green Lantern books. The ones I've been religiously reading. I think Titans, both Teen Titans and Titans in general, have just been really strong. And the Lantern books, you have both Green Lanterns, and then you have Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps, which I think are both strong too.
Now we saw some casting this week for Starfire.
I missed that one.
Yes.
Oh no, I did see it. I forget her name, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, young actress. I'm kind of excited because it's the first time we're going to see a live action version. So good luck.
Are you excited for the live action version of Teen Titans?
Anna Diop.
What?
Anna Diop.
Oh, okay.
That's the.
Anna Diop. Do you have any of her previous work, or she so fresh that we're just seeing?
No, she had been but it was like and this isn't a knock on the fandom, but I think she's been more in a lot of like teen shows and stuff like that.
CW type stuff?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Which is the vibe they're going for anyway, right?
Yeah, I think it's so strange to see a
Oh no,
lot of.
she's from 24 Legacy.
Okay.
Anyone watch that? Anyone?
No.
Anyone?
No,
Yeah.
I didn't. I gave up on 24 back in its first season.
24 is a great show for the first 2 seasons, and then you just want to watch Jack Bauer say, "Damn it!"
Right.
That's it.
Damn it, we're running out of time.
Yes. My books, I'm a huge Marvel guy. I think probably my favorite book I'm reading right now is Daredevil.
It's good.
I read that in trades. When I followed the author online, and he was talking about how he really is collecting this first 25 as like a novel.
Really?
Talking about current run.
Current run, yeah. As soon as he hits issue 25, he says it's not starting over. He goes, but that's kind of the
I read it.
the aim of what I want in this book.
art.
I want a complete story. I want it collected. You read all 25, you should get a great story.
And it's fun where they. It's not. I'm not going to spoil away, but it's what they do to start up the next story arc is going to be kind of refreshing.
Yeah, Daredevil gets a sidekick and a disturbing new villain.
Yes.
If you see any of the covers, if they're kind of exciting to you as far as the art, it's worth picking up. It's a really great run.
May I interrupt for just 1 second?
Oh yeah,
Yes, you may.
that's all the show's going to be.
Well, going back to me catching up and never being a big DC person, one of the things that I've with Jeff Johns has bothered me is I'm reading the event books or
Yeah.
like maybe like a 4 or 5 issue or like a volume whatever, and it's like the Trinity Wars or Justice League, Throne of Atlantis or whatever.
Okay.
Oh.
What I hate about it is that they never wrap up that storyline. Like you get to the last page and it's not done, and it kicks off into this
Well, no,
whole other
the
story.
Trinity Wars went right into All Evil. It was the crime
Yeah.
syndicate coming to our Earth.
Forever
and then,
Evil?
Yeah, Forever Evil.
Yeah.
And it was like boom, boom. It's like you didn't even give like a breather. It was just one led right into
Right.
the other, and it was just I stopped with the Justice League. I mean, I loved the Justice League. Grew up watching it, but then when they did the new 52, I just kind of fell off with
Same here.
Rebirth. Is kind of because they're bringing back a lot of the original stuff into the current lineage. That's why I can get with it. With Titans, you have Wally West, the original Wally West, back, and you have 2 different Wally West on 2 different Titan teams. And it's like, okay, this is kind of interesting. I want to see where this goes. So it's
Yeah, because I bought Rise of the Third Army, and I was really into that book.
Oh, you're talking about Green Lantern.
Green Lantern.
yeah.
Rise of the Third
that
Army.
was good. That's good.
I bought that arc, and then I get to the last page, and I'm like, well, they really didn't wrap up anything. It's just this new bullshit. And then, so I bought the New 52, the first volume for Justice League was War, I think it was.
Oh, the Dark Side War.
No. It wasn't Dark Side War. I think it was just called War. And it happened again, and I'm like, and so then I was like, okay, so I'll get the next arc. So I think the next arc was Throne of Atlantis.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Okay.
And then that didn't wrap up. I'm like, it jumps in. I almost got, I got so frustrated with Jeff Johns because he was in charge of that, and I was like, that was one of the main things.
So basically, it suffers from Stephen King-itis. He doesn't know how to end the friggin' book.
That or
Pretty much.
are they marketing to where they're trying to make you buy the next trade paperback?
Exactly, that's what it is.
Yeah. Okay, so one other thing, like, what local shop is your comic book shop? Like, what is your go-to? Because there's a lot in Dallas, a lot that have been here for a really long time.
Right. I've been going to just something local. I live in Garland, so over by Firewheel, so I've been going to Keith's Comics over there.
Okay, yeah.
I try to get over. Because I'm a tech guy, and things are easier for me. Just on a computer or my iPad, I've really gotten into the app.
Yeah.
The whole guided view.
Yeah.
I love that. I like,
So physical copies or singles? Do you buy the digital or do you buy the physical to have?
I'll buy the physical if they'll give me a free digital copy.
Okay, so when Marvel stopped doing that, you quit buying Marvel?
Yeah, I quit.
What?
Well, I mean, I want to help support my local comic book shop.
Same.
I do.
Same.
But like I said, because you look at it as you don't want to look at comic books as a investment, right?
Right.
We enjoy the stories. That's why we buy the books.
When you say-
but at the same time, there's still that investment
When you buy the trade paperbacks, are these all on digital that you're buying them?
No,
or,
no. If I buy the, what I've been doing is going to Half Price Books and getting and getting the trade paperbacks there, a little bit cheaper. But I would go to Keith's because I wanted to support a local comic book shop. Yeah. So I think that's one of my favorite things as a kid was even though we lived in the hood, we had two things that were right around the corner. We had a big comic book shop, and we had Bill's Records and Tapes right around the corner.
Bill's.
Yeah. So, I mean, I still have that nostalgia going in and putting my hands on stuff and flipping through CDs and records and comic books and getting them physical. So I have that nostalgia, and I want to keep that. But at the same time, at $3.99, $4.99
a copy
for 20-page copy, I'd rather have it on digital.
Remember the first comic I ever bought officially myself was Amazing Spider-Man number 287. It was Spider-Man versus Daredevil, but it was part 3 of the gang war.
Okay.
And this was the Dallas-Fort Worth airport, and it was 75 cents.
Right.
Oh, man.
75 freaking cents compared to like $4 or $5 now for every single issue that we have to pay.
Every single issue.
Yeah.
And then what DC's doing bi-weekly.
Yeah.
So now, it's like $10 a month for just one
book.
One book.
But you're getting twice as much story in ours.
Like I said, they're doing better on the story. Well, okay, granted, after not finishing up, they're still doing better of telling a story, I think, than Marvel is right now.
That's true.
Yeah, I picked up my books last week. My stores are awesome. Or not awesome. Awesome Comics is one of the best stores in Dallas, but Urban Legends over in Mesquite. I live in Mesquite, and Urban Legends is an old Lone Star Comics that had been here for years, bought out, and I love that store. They pull my books, and they know I love Scotty Young covers, so they always will pull me a Scotty Young cover. I also love Zeus. Zeus is one of my favorite stores I'll always hit. I always try to support them. I read digitally, but I will go in and buy some of the books that I buy physical copies of. Like I only read Walking Dead in the oversized omnibus.
Right.
So,
Well, and so right now I'm going through like a bit of a financial spell. But once I get back on my feet, my plan is I want to, because after the divorce, it was just a mess, but I would like to have like a bookshelf.
I could do a whole show on how nasty divorce is.
Yeah. So, I can join you with that
Hear
one.
the sad Sarah McLaughlin
I would
music.
I'd like to have
I'll
like
be
a
stepping out
bookshelf.
this one.
We'll get real torches and pitchforks and be angry.
I would like to have like a bookshelf of omnibuses and absolute editions for my daughter to read.
Oh,
when she starts to get old. And so I think that's where I would
go fund Adrian's comic book habits.
Kickstarter starting this afternoon.
Sounds like more of a GoFundMe.
Yeah, GoFundMe. Yeah,
GoFundMe or Patreon.
Yeah. I'll send you pictures.
Now we'll do that
week.
for the Twitch marathon. We'll just have you reading comics.
So Kyle, same thing. How are you reading? Are you reading digitally? What's your local shop?
It's physical format. Nothing against the digital, but I can't read something. I've tried I can't do the touchscreen. I mean, I can read other stuff like news articles and stuff like that, but when it comes to the actual comic, I have to have something physical in my hand. It's like
fair enough.
It's like reading an actual book. I like that kind of physical format.
Wait till your eyes start to go, and you need that.
They're already
gone.
Just wait. But it's like a drug. I can't stop. Mm-hmm. But no, I mean. Basically, I still collect. I still have a few stuff I get on occasion. I'm not able to get the comics as weekly as I'd like to. But when it comes to shops, Keith's, because I've worked for Keith before, and I still have a good friend who's the manager of the Carrollton location where I used to work, and then Zeus. I mean, I used to go to when I was working more downtown. Zeus used to be my favorite shop to go to. So I mean, it's just I'm on the other side of Dallas, so I can't always make it down there. But,
it's a travel thing.
But I mean, I'll be sure to honest, if I'm around in a certain part of either Plano or Lewisburg or Denton, I'll try to stop in one of the local stores, and I like to try to give them, support all of them. It's about, I don't want to see the comic shops go away. I mean, I understand it's a business and it's sort of a competition, but I want to support them all equally as I can. So
I buy most physical copies to keep for X-Men. Everything else I buy, I redeem the digital, and I give away the other copies. I'm going to give them away at Halloween because I give away comics to kids instead of candy.
Right. Well, here's the one. Between trade paperback and singles, my library of trade paperbacks are getting bigger, but I'm buying the ones that I really want to own and keep, and those are the ones I want to read. But do you think, because I still have a whole collection of single issues growing up and buying, do you think there'll be a time when you want to get rid of majority of your single issues, but will it be like a run of singles you're going to keep no matter what?
X-Men.
Collection? Okay.
I've almost completed a full run of Uncanny X-Men.
Really?
And Of course, it's all the under 94 that I need. I have probably half a dozen issues in there, but still getting that first 12, that's going to be the challenge.
Right. I think with most people, it all depends on space.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's why I say, and not keeping, but it's like, I can tell you right now, I have all the singles for the James Robinson Starman. I will be keeping all of those no matter what.
Right.
That's true.
I have the Ron Mars, and again, Green Lantern. I have when Kyle Rayner first started up, I have the whole run of those. I'll be keeping all of those.
Yeah.
Now, after that, other than that, maybe some, there might be a few others here and there, but those are the ones that no matter what, if I have to downsize everything out of the house, those would be the certain runs that I will be keeping. I think I have a lot of the trade paperbacks for Usagi Yojimbo from Stan Sakai, which is one of my favorites, and I'll probably try to keep those. But other than that, it's just there are certain ones that I will not let go unless it comes down to me either being kicked out of the apartment, and that's where I think it really comes down to.
Right.
So then I had one question on here that what comic do you own that means the most to you? Not value, but one that you're going to hold on to just because of something personal.
Well, since I don't have many single issue comic books, I think my trade paperback of Born Again.
Ooh.
Daredevil?
Yeah. I just adore that book.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was growing up an X-Men fan, and I think one of the main reasons why I love Born Again is the grounded reality of it that reminds me a lot of the whole why I love the X-Men.
Yeah.
And then, just see this man and lose everything and have to kind of start over. And he's not a billionaire where he can't just snap his finger and everything comes back to him. He's not, super powered where he can just fly away and start over somewhere. This guy's based in his neighborhood. He loses everything in that neighborhood and refuses to leave and start over. And then, of course, it's that Frank Miller, Mazzucchelli artwork is just awesome. I think I'll always keep that book.
Yeah, when I finish Defenders, we're gonna get into some Defenders talk here in a second, and we get to the end and we see where the story's going. I got excited, started looking for pages, and every time I get to a page, I go, "Oh, I should tweet this page because this is a great page."
Right.
But all of them are great.
No,
So,
they are.
Kyle,
don't know if I can answer that right now. I have to think about that. I'm not trying.
His Blue Bloods comic book?
Screw it. I would probably just say, if I had to choose one, the first Starman trade paperback. Just because I think
okay.
just the first one, because that first 6 issue, you could stop after the first 6 issues and just kind of leave it. I mean, it's not doesn't finish up the story, but it doesn't lead into something else. It's you have that last issue where Jack's talking to his brother and sort of the neither space, and it's just one of those things that start to where he doesn't have the staff and just talking about his life and loving old things till that last. I always come back to that conversation he's had with his brother, and his brother's like, "You're the first guy who decided to learn jiu-jitsu. You're the guy who decided to go get that tattoo of the rooster. You're the one who decided to find that magazine of that catalog in Japanese of Levi jeans. I learned just enough. It's just that whole thing that made me realize these are the small quirks I kind of grew up doing. It's I don't care what people think. I'm going to do it just to do it. And that always held a strong place in my heart. So
Right.
I love seeing Kyle talk about Starman because he gets so excited, and it's one of my favorite books, so I get excited. So I would plan on looking forward to a whole episode where we just talk about the Starman run, because that
Please don't stand up, guys.
That is one of our that is one of our favorite all time books, and for a guy who is a dedicated Marvel guy, that means a lot coming from me because I absolutely love James Robinson on that book.
I think this will be interesting. I'm not going to tell him right now, but if you were talking about tag teams or the
art team or creative teams.
Yeah, but if you for mine, I think a question would be for a future show. If you could pick 2 heroes that have probably never teamed together, whether or not it's in the same universe or 2 separate universes, what would that duo be? But I want to hold that off for another episode. Because
Okay.
I have one.
Think about that one.
All right. Mine, I probably Days of Future Past, X-Men 141 and 142.
That's another good one.
For those of you that don't know me, I have a full tattoo of the cover of X-Men 141 on my leg. It's one of my favorite all-time comics. When I discovered Byrne and Claremont, I just devoured everything. That was probably the best thing for me to get into comics was to read the Dark Phoenix saga, read Days of Future Past, just all the different things they did on their run that just made that book so awesome.
Right.
But yeah, it's worth something, but it's still a personal book I'd probably keep.
Right.
So now you kind of know some of our history. We're going to get into some Defenders talk. All of us binged watched that this past week. We're going to try to transition between the comics and the show, so you kind of have some knowledge about where it started, where it, how it ended up on Netflix, and this team that's in it now. And spoilers, we're going to talk about the ending. So tune out if you don't want the show ruined for you.
You know, this is going to be something that I think would be the same as Guardians. Most people are going into Defenders thinking, oh, it's the four of them. Luke Cage, Danny Rand, Jessica Jones, and then Daredevil, and not realizing there was a whole Defenders team before this ever started. And the same with Guardians. Guardians wasn't Groot, Drax the Destroyer. It was, and he knows me. This is one of my other guilty pleasures. I'm a huge fan of the original Guardians of the Galaxy. Jim Valentino run from 1988, even the original stuff from 1969 Marvel premiere. It was like, it's Vance Astro, Martin 27, Charlie 27, Martin X, Yondu, Starhawk, Alita, and then Nikki, and then this is the original one from the 31st century,
right?
And that was not that. Yeah, sorry, I'm just
okay. Now going on your love of the original Guardians, because we just rewatched Guardians 2 last night. When you have a film that kind of transcends and affects the comics, does that bother you? Like if we see a Yondu character change as much as he was from the original Guardians to what he is in the film?
You have to let it go, because people can use that whole argument. Like, if you're going to look, I'm going to use the Flash TV series as an example.
Okay.
The fact you change Iris and Wally to be African American, and then we have a black Wally West instead of the typical Wally that's in the comic books. It's like, no, you just let it go. Sometimes you got to let things go. Things change. So the fact we actually got some love for Yondu, and the fact that like Guardians 2 became more of a Yondu film, where we actually got to see Michael Rooker actually portray that character even more. Now, and is he the same kind of Yondu, which was, when you go back to the comic books, Yondu was almost more Native American kind of character. He wasn't the typical rawhide, redneck kind of character he was in the films, but it's fine. And the people who have seen Guardians 2 have saw it. We had Sylvester Stallone as Takar, as Starhawk, and we had a small thing in there of the original Guardians, and I was like, yay, some original love, thank you God. Not that I don't love the new movies, but still, and that's where I kind of look at the Defenders. It's like I love the TV series, I love the new comic book, but the original Defenders was an unofficial team of Marvel's most powerful characters: Namor, Silver Surfer, Doctor Strange, and the Incredible Hulk.
Okay, well then this question's for both of you guys.
Okay.
You've seen Guardians.
Which one?
The second volume 2. Yeah. Okay, so at the end, spoilers for those who haven't seen the end scenes for Guardians Volume 2, when you get the original Guardians, would you love to see one film?
Yes.
James Gunn, that crew.
I don't need yeah, yes,
You don't need
yes. Right. Here. James, my wallet, just take it. Give me the damn film, please.
Right.
Michelle Yeoh.
Yes.
We've got.
I'll even take Miley Cyrus's mainframe. I'll even take her fucking screechy voice on the damn thing just to have that film show. Please give me the original Guardians. Even a team up. Show us, new Guardians with old Guardians, Ravagers, Guardians. I want to see this film, please.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we kind of.
I have no stakes in this, but I'll just follow Kyle's lead.
Like I said, Guardians is that one team that I can go over again history-wise and just tell you everything about. The fact that you have, Vance Astro, who is a mutant. Who again we have two Vance Astros. We have one who decided to go back in time and give us Vance Astrovic, it's Vance Astrovic in the Guardians, who basically created the Vance Astro we now have in New Warriors.
Right.
So now we have two different characters. He's already screwed up the timeline, but again, you have this one character who's in a shielded adamantium suit for 1,000 years in space, and and then he goes to the Centauri Alpha. I'm sorry, I'm going all over the place now, but for 1,000 years, he's the only human he thinks alive, and when he gets out, he realizes, hey, my whole trip has been a joke, and he basically teams up with these other four guys who are all like kind of individuals and by themselves, and you form this kind of like 31st century super team that are sort of like the Avengers. So you don't realize that's what started off that gave us these two films.
So do you like the current Guardians title? Are you reading it?
No, I mean, that's the weird thing. I love the films. I love the actors who play the films. I think they're great films, but I've tried doing the comic books and sometimes I'll pick up a story here and there, but the characters in the comics don't do anything for me.
I love Bendis's run. Currently, Jerry Duggan is writing with Greg Smallwood, who just finished up on Moon Knight, is taking over art. Again, and I'm kind of excited about that.
I tried. I just can't. I don't know what it is. Maybe It's not I'm not saying the creative teams are doing a bad job, but
Yeah.
just I could not get into that new Moon Knight series, even though I hear great things about it.
Oh yeah, that was fantastic. But Greg's going to be on, I believe, the next issue of Guardians. If you want to pick it up and check it out. But I mean, I love Jerry Duggan. I mean, he's been writing Daredevil. He's been writing Uncanny Avengers. He knows the characters. I really like this guy. So what was your exposure to the characters that we see in Defenders? Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Misty, Colleen, Night Nurse,
Well,
Elektra.
like I said, I've always liked Daredevil.
Yeah.
I've always liked that character.
Do we need to jump straight to the end for you for how Defenders ended?
Not yet, because okay, so me and you have the you saw it maybe a couple of days before I got to binge it, and I got your opinion on it, and I was like, all right, cool. It gave me a good, I went in on a positive, and then I came out of it still very positive. The more I think about this show, I think the more I have questions. So I want to go back and watch it again, but I don't want to watch it again and not like it. So I'm kind of scared because I'm like,
Really?
there's some things that went on in there that I'm just like, the more I think about it, the more it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Do I think there are things they could? Was it the strongest of all like the Marvel series? No. But I loved it. I thought they did a great job of bringing them all together. Like I said, it's. I think there was more of that, and this almost kind of goes back between if you're comparing the Avengers to the Fantastic Four, whereas the Avengers they're friends and they're a team that come together, but they're more of a covert team. Whereas this was almost like four individuals who almost became family while taking on the Hand in the series. And I love the fact that how they all came together. There was like almost this close bond. Like
Yeah.
when
That was good.
When you thought Matt was dead, they all felt it.
Yeah.
And that was the whole thing. And and granted, I know in the comic books they've had more time to develop the history between the four characters. So there probably is a family bond between all four of them.
Yeah, like what is your history of Heroes for Hire? Essentially, what this whole crew is in the
So,
comics.
Daredevil,
What have you read? And
I've
what,
been reading Daredevil on and off since like '87. So I remember like the first issue I got of Daredevil was an issue where he's basically guest starring the Black Panther. And that's one thing I think I'm a little bit sad about, the fact that Daredevil's Netflix and then the Black Panther is cinematic, because we're never going to get those two in together.
Right.
But I grew up, I remember first time reading a Luke Cage was a Marvel Tales reprinting, a Marvel team up with Spider-Man and Power Man. Iron Fist came a little bit later, and then Jessica Jones, I bought all of Alias, and then whatever the one after that was. And so now I have a good, and then of course I read all of New Avengers. I have everything of New Avengers, which has had all four of them all together as Avengers teammates together. So it's not the first time they've been together as teammates as a team. And I think this is a good dynamic. I think again, it's they're as in the, I think it was issue 1. I think it was issue 1 of Defenders. Iron Fist said, "Well, the Avengers are going to take care of everything that's in space. Who's going to defend the street level gang?" And that's them.
Right.
They're the street level posse.
Growing up, I talked about Daredevil, but Power Man has a special place in my heart.
Okay.
Power Man and Black Panther, because me being black and growing up in the 70s, there weren't really that many African American and well, actually, I'll tell you, Black Panther has more of a special place in my heart, because although I love Power Man, the way he was drawn and the way he was portrayed in the 70s and early 80s was very stereotypical. Looking back on it now, I'm like,
What about Falcon?
never was a big fan of Falcon.
No, I'm not knocking. I'm just curious. He was the other African American character.
Yeah,
we had.
he was, but he was just Falcon.
Okay.
But I love Power Man. I love the dynamic of Power Man and Iron Fist.
No, that was I think the combo. Like, I think that's
It was a weird combo, but it worked, and that was one of the things I did love about the show. The Defenders show was seeing that dynamic, how they first met, and then how that friendship it was kind of like in high school. You got into a fight with somebody, and then next thing you know, a couple weeks later, you're all best friends because you actually talk and work out your differences. And I love that dynamic of the two and seeing those coming together.
Go ahead.
No, you're good.
Well, there's a scene. There's a scene between Danny and Luke.
If you take my scene, I'm going to kill you.
Is this the privilege? That scene?
No. Keep going.
Cage kind of comes at Danny when they first meet and expresses his opinion on privilege and what he sees in Danny and what he sees is privilege and what he's trying to do. he could do a different way from where he sits.
Right.
What did that scene mean to you when he says that to Danny?
I'm kind of torn because of the whole political vibe in our world today.
Yeah.
And because I see things.
We should have a whole episode on race.
All right. we can do that.
We can do that. You are welcome to come back for that.
Because I have a ton of white friends, so I try to see things like I come from a different perspective because I'm still black, you know. And I still do. Yeah.
Still,
like you said, you wanted me to show you, but
You think I'm going to stay this color?
yeah, this shit doesn't wash off. I have a great story I'll tell you guys off the air about. So, but then I understood that, you know, I thought Luke at first was kind of wrong for giving that speech, but then at the same time, I understood where he's coming from because he doesn't know Danny. When you meet somebody, you can only go off of
what you know about them,
what you know about them, what you see.
Well, you read an article and he's $1 billion owner of a company. So.
Right. So, but at the same time, going back and thinking about that speech, it helps in the development of Danny.
Well,
matter of fact, without that speech, I don't think we get the ending shot of him on the roof.
Yeah,
thinking about the city and what Matt has said to him and what Danny said.
I mean,
to
just
him.
the whole thing. But I mean, I think that main speech is the core. That privilege speech is the core of why he's on that roof.
I think my favorite moment was, and this is about the bonding between the two of them. This is when they have Danny tied up in that one space, and you have Luke there reading the magazine, and he's like he's talking about how he heard Stick talking about Danny, how he had to punch the chest of the dragon. He goes, "I bet that hurts." Like, yeah. I was like, and he goes, "All right, let's talk." And he goes, "Yeah, did it really hurt?" It's like, "Yeah, it was really painful." And he goes, "Well, yeah, let's see. I've taken a rocket launcher. I've been shot in the head with a shotgun. By Jessica.
By Jessica."
And he goes, "By our Jessica?" Yep.
Yep.
And he goes, "Trust me, I'd rather take on Jessica. I'd rather take on a dragon than never take on Jessica Jones again." And you see there was that bonding moment.
I love those moments.
Yeah, that was. I think that's
probably
what
my
solidified that this is Power Man and Iron Fist. At least, hopefully, eventually in the Netflix
I think that was
series.
my favorite interaction.
Yeah.
That portion was my favorite interaction because we've all had that conversation where we're not getting along, but you're trying to give it a shot, and then so he makes a wisecrack, which he can see kind of hurts him, but then he comes back, so a molten heart, huh? and that just kind of, and then
you got to think too where he's coming from. So Luke is unbreakable.
Right.
He's shown Jessica just by putting a saw to his side.
Right.
And now he runs into this guy who just keeps claiming, "I'm from this land called Kunlun that you've never heard of, and I am the immortal Iron Fist."
That's my favorite. I'm the immortal Iron Fist. What?
Yeah.
Well,
and so
I think
all these people who have these superpowers are like, "Who's this guy? This guy's crazy."
I think that was actually one of the better written storylines, is because Luke, in that instance, and that was one of the big problems I had with the Iron Fist series, is that, I wanted Iron Fist to be this badass. But what we got was this.
That's my biggest problem with the series.
I want to dig into this.
And what we got was this whiny little bitch.
Yeah.
That keeps talking about something that nobody in the real world
It's not even a whiny little bitch.
About.
In the comic books, and granted, this may be just because it's an early Iron Fist, but in the comic books, Iron Fist is probably the deadliest outside of maybe Shang-Chi, the deadliest martial artist and fighter we have in the Marvel Universe. This is a guy who could probably take out Batman, and he's getting his ass handed to him by Elektra.
Right.
Yeah. That was the big problem with me is Daredevil set the bar really high.
Oh, God, yeah.
That season 1 had so many incredible fights, and then you go into season 2, and then you get Iron Fist, so Iron Fist has to outdo that. I think by starting him off really kind of bad, kind of has him evolve.
Right.
And I think by going into the Defenders, having him fight Luke, having him fight Daredevil, shows that he's gotten better than he was in the first season. And this is just from like Adrian and I talking on Instant Messenger. We know that the actor was only learning the fight sequences for Iron Fist 15 minutes before they actually filmed.
Right.
Okay.
And now he's training 6 weeks before they start shooting.
Okay, so I need to get a little speculation on this because I'm a little bit out of this conversation. because I've heard all you guys bitch about Iron Fist and how bad the series was. I mean, just
No, I like
Never
the
seen-
series. I enjoyed the series.
I wasn't a fan.
As portraying him as this fighter, he's supposed to be a lot better than he was portrayed in the
and
series.
that was my huge problem with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, he was not very good. And then
No,
the other.
this is no knocking against the actor. I have no problem against the guy who
Oh
played.
yeah. I think he's a great fit.
Well, I think he's a good fit. The problem I had was number one, he didn't train.
Well, they didn't have time to train.
He didn't have time to train. So you have Iron Fist going up against a show like Into the Badlands.
Yeah, we've had this. Yeah.
Right. And so, but then he's written to not be that very good of a fighter.
Okay,
I mean,
so-
he's getting his ass handed to him left and right.
So my question and the speculation is, because we're about in the last 5 minutes of the show here, will we see just a team up series of Luke Cage and Iron Fist?
Eventually.
I hope so.
Eventually.
To just basically consolidate those two series and get them running into one.
Well-
and getting them in a run in one team.
I don't
Actually, I have a question that was going to take part of that by saying, would you rather have a Daughters of the Dragon series with Misty, Colleen, and Night Nurse, or just have Heroes for Hire?
Have Heroes for Hire, and then have as a secondary background story, have it form the Daughters of the Dragon, because that was the thing, is they were always a segment storyline in Heroes for Hire comic books. So why can't you have it in the TV series?
Well,
I think you have a stronger Daughters of the Dragon team than you have a Heroes for Hire right now.
but I think what happens is because we already have the Iron Fist and Power Man. Do Heroes for Hire build the relationship of Misty and Colleen, and then do a Daughters of the Dragon maybe spinoff?
Yeah.
I think that's how you go. I think
or spin-off, come on, do we need it?
yes,
Well, yeah.
Daughters of the Dragon, yes.
I think Marvel's going to get to a place where they need to be outside of continuity in the timeline, and I think when they spin off these shows, these shows need to stand alone and not be
Not even
involved
that.
in.
I think I read somewhere that this all was supposed to take place during Phase 2. Like
Yeah.
I think, not Phase 3. Like after Avengers Ultron. I think this all takes place before Ultron.
Yeah, see,
so-
we're running into continuity errors that fanboys love, but I would rather get a great couple of seasons of Daughters of the Dragon than Heroes for Hire.
I think that's one of the reasons why you stop seeing so many Easter eggs.
Yeah,
Like the
amount of ones in Defenders was not that much.
Well, I mean, if you look back on the last 3 or 4 series, there has been ever since Defender or Jessica Jones. Really, you haven't seen many Easter eggs. They haven't talked about anything that's going on in the MCU. They've kind of gotten away. I think a lot of that has to do.
They
with
just call it the incident. and that's
exactly,
it.
exactly.
I think a lot of that has to do with the whole Perlmutter Feige split. But
Okay. We just got a little bit of time left on the show. I want to. What do you guys want to see in season 2 of Defenders?
Just more of an actual formulated family team. I mean, this was the hey, we're getting to know each other and kind of learn what we can do. I want to see an event where basically they all know how to work together and become more of a cohesive fighting team. I think.
Okay.
I think we're going to get that. What I think is going to happen is we're going to start seeing a lot more intermingling in the solo series,
Right.
Like we do in the Marvel movies now, where we see Iron
Crossovers
Man, crossovers.
Well, it's like Avengers. Avengers, they got to know each other. Avengers 2 was hey, they knew how to work off each other.
I mean, because
so.
the problem you come up against is when doing the Soul series, you really don't see it much in the comics, but now in the movies and the TV shows, it's like, well, isn't Luke Cage right down the street? Why are you taking this on by yourself? And you start getting that, and so you start seeing a lot more intermingling. I think when we come back to the Defenders series, we're gonna have a more cohesive team.
I do not want the same team of Defenders. Second season, I want them to spin off into Heroes for Hire or Daughters of the Dragon. This is my lineup. My wish list of Defenders season 2: Moon Knight, Shang-Chi, Paladin, Hellcat, Spider-Woman, and Howard the Duck. I want us to go down to Florida and to the nexus of all reality, and I want that to be the storyline of
So in
Defenders season
2025.
2. Yes. But that's my wish list. So that's what I'd love to see.
We're not going to see Howard because I think that's going to be a movie. I think if we get Howard, it's going to be and somehow we're going to have it probably as like Hulk was in Thor Ragnarok. I think we're going to have Howard in one of the future Marvel films as a side character.
But he works better as a street guy.
I know.
I think you go street level and you take it as cinematic as you can. You go to the nexus of all reality. You bring in Man-Thing and you kind of explore different realities on Earth.
That could be cool.
I think that'd be cool for comic book fans. I don't know if that's going to be cool for a broader audience if they want.
Yeah, if we start getting in too deep, then we may lose people.
I know we're running up against time, but that's one of the two problems I had with the show was, number one, we kind of just dropped the whole Hellcat thing.
Yeah.
Like,
But we're going to get Jessica Jones too. I think we'll get
Yeah.
more development there.
Yeah, but
I think we'll see Hellcat at some point.
And
so.
then there was no mention of Mark Spector. I was hoping for an Easter egg of Mark Spector.
All right, guys, that was our first show. I hope you guys all enjoyed next issue. I want to make the special dedication, and I just got through watching Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I love Rocket, and I love Bill Mantlo. He did a lot of the comics that we read getting here. If you read his story, you'll find out he's had some health issues, but Marvel has kind of taken care of him. He's written so many books that we loved growing up. I just wanted to dedicate this episode to him. You guys have any comments about Bill?
No.
I know you know, like Cloak and Dagger and some of the
Yeah,
other stuff
yeah.
he's written and everything, but as I was putting some of this together, just got kind of sentimental about the things I read growing up and reading about where Bill is today. Good luck and good health to you.
All
Where can we find you guys on the internet?
right. You can find me on Twitter at Adrian_Harry.
You can find me on most social network as Kylepedia. It's at Kylepedia.
I am on the Twitters as Clay_Harrison. You can also find me at the DallasComicBookClub.com. You can find the podcast at Next Issue Podcast on Facebook and Next Issue Pod on Twitter. For Kyle, for Adrian, that's Next Issue. Hope we see you in the second episode.
If you want to know what we're talking about next week, you got to pick up the next issue.
Yep. Do we have wrap-up music?
This is DallasOnAir.com.